What are some of just the dumbest crimes? Well, let's find out, starting with number 6. Twice the miles, twice the smiles. Convicted felon Lawrence Hardge entered into a contract with the DC government after he claimed he invented a way to double the range of electric vehicles. Hardge created a cell phone-sized box that he claimed would increase electric vehicle range by over 75%. DC's Department of Public Works was looking for new technology to extend its vehicles' lifespans and keep maintenance costs down, so this tech caught their attention. Although experts said that the self-proclaimed inventor's claims were impossible, the department signed a $680,000 contract with Hardge's company, EV Technology LLC. The department referred to the project as the Black Box Technology Pilot Program, which called for the installation of 40 of the black boxes into the parking enforcement's fleet of Chevrolet Bolt electric vehicles. The contract worked out to $14,000 a vehicle, which was roughly half of the retail value of a Chevy Bolt. That's a lot of wasted money since the department's vehicles traveled less than 25 miles per day anyway. EV Technology LLC claimed in the contract that its battery attachment technology would regenerate itself and revolutionize electric vehicle batteries. Industry experts spoke out against the company's bold claims, especially when the largest automakers in the world were spending billions of dollars on research to try and engineer even single percentage increases in EV ranges. Nathan Baca from WUSA9 conducted an investigation with the help of Paul Albertus, Associate Director of the Maryland Energy Innovation Institute. Paul said that technologies that could boost an EV's battery pack to something significantly above the 200-mile standard range didn't exist yet. The amount of energy that a battery could store was just too limited for Hardge's invention to work, and that to re-energize a battery would involve breaking it open rather than wiring a box in the way that Hardge's invention did. Baca reached out to General Motors, the makers of the Chevy Bolts, who wrote in a formal statement that they weren't involved in the project or unaware of the technology that Hardge was using. Despite WUSA9's findings about Hardge's bogus product, the inventor claimed in 2022 that the University of Michigan notified him that he was the perfect candidate for a Nobel Prize, and they plan to nominate him for the award. WUSA reached out to a university spokesperson who said that nobody at the University of Michigan was familiar with Hardge. In 2001, Lawrence Hardge got a 26-year prison sentence after he was found guilty of selling unregistered securities from Mississippi. The convicted felon served 5 years in prison and attempted to expunge his criminal record in 2021. Although he received a temporary felony expungement, a judge rescinded it after allegations that Hardge repaid the people he defrauded in 2001 with business investors' money. The DC Office of Contracts and Procurement claimed to have no idea about Hardge's criminal past until WUSA9 told them, which is like, why? That's a lot of money to just hand someone you know nothing about. Hardge posted a video on Facebook where he bragged about working with the DC government on 40 cars, and the department wanted to add his device to thousands more vehicles. 6 weeks after learning the truth about Hardge, the DC government terminated their contract over violations of terms of the agreement and said they wouldn't pay any money. It was fairly easy for Baca and his team to debunk Hardge's claims, which makes you wonder why it was so hard for the DC government. So who's the bigger moron? The guy making absurd claims that could easily be discovered, or the government who believed it without even fact-checking? We know the answer, but shout it out in the comments below. Number 5. Just for looks. Instagram influencer Yulia Pugachev tricked out her Dodge Charger to look like a police car. Pugachev, who has 1.8 million Instagram followers, turned her vehicle into a cop car, complete with lights and sirens. She painted the Dodge Charger with the same color as the Florida Highway Patrol vehicle's colors and a decal resembling a police badge on the side of the vehicle. The Highway Patrol was conducting an unrelated traffic stop in Miami when it noticed what appeared to be an official law enforcement vehicle speeding past. While the vehicle had an identical paint job to a Highway Patrol cruiser and an emergency siren and light bar, officers quickly spotted that it was an imitation. So police pulled Pugachev over and she told them she was just test driving the vehicle. The influencer, who owned several car-related businesses with her husband, eventually admitted that she owned the car as part of her security service fleet. Pugachev was arrested and charged with imitating a Florida Highway Patrol vehicle's colors, misusing a dealer license plate, and failing to register a vehicle. She claimed to have fallen in love with with the color scheme of Florida Highway Patrol vehicles and requested that a wrap business help her recreate the black and tan aesthetic. And okay, there's loads of people who've bought retired police cars and dressed them up to look like they did when they're in service. Many security services even attempt to make their cars look like they're with law enforcement, so this isn't automatically a crazy town thing. But what do you make of some random Instagram lady insisting that she just loves the look? We're not into profiling anyone here, but she probably doesn't look like most other people who own cop cars. What do you think? Was she up to no good, or is she really a cop car nerd? Number 4. Everyone else is wrong. A Nebraska drunk driver called 911 to report that someone was driving on the wrong side of the road. The problem was that it was him. As the driver sped down the highway, he noticed that a vehicle was driving on the wrong side of the road. So he called the police to let them know that some idiot thinks they're James Bond. During the call, the driver then claimed another vehicle almost ran him off the road and had its brights on. Law enforcement arrived at the scene, and when they approached the driver, they could tell by his behavior that he was wasted. The police asked the man if he knew why they stopped him, and he said he realized that he had been driving on the wrong side of the road. He said that the reason for his reckless driving was that he had missed his exit. As a side note, reckless is kind of a weird term for driving dangerously, isn't it? It makes it sound like you're driving without wrecking. Yes, we know it's two different words, but anyway, the guy admitted that he was the one that made the original 911 call, and it turned out that his blood alcohol level was over 2 times the legal limit. He arrested the guy, and thankfully, no one was injured. It's a funny story, but seriously, someone could have lost their life. Head-on collisions are no joke. Just ask Ed Truck. But seriously, please drink responsibly. Everyone's lives have been touched by the actions of a drunk driver at one point or another, and it's totally avoidable. Number 3. Check the schedules. Trainee doctor Tracy Landu claimed £9,865 in sick pay from Britain's National Health Service while working at 2 different hospitals. Landu's scam occurred over 5 months in 2020 while she worked as a GP specialty trainee at St. Helens and Knowsley teaching hospitals. She had told her employer that she was ill and had to take a leave of absence. During the time when she was supposed to be fighting an undisclosed illness, she worked 8 to 13-hour shifts for United Lincolnshire hospitals, located 160 miles from her original hospital. When officials confronted her about working while she was on sick leave, she denied their accusations. However, it was so easily provable that her partner even warned her that she'd lose her job if she didn't stop the scam. It was inevitable that Dr. Landu would be discovered working during her sick leave, and hospital officials did eventually uncover her lies. The General Medical Council launched a formal investigation into Landu's sick pay claims. The disgraced doctor said that she didn't think she was on official sick leave at the time, despite the hospital's HR staff asking for a doctor's note. She later confessed to lying to an HR official who recorded that Landu denied working while claiming the money. During the hearing, the counsel for the General Medical Council said that Landu's misconduct was a serious case of dishonesty and that she'd had the opportunity to stop what she was doing but didn't. The Medical Practitioners Tribunal Service found her guilty of serious professional misconduct and suspended the trainee doctor for 9 months. The tribunal believed that Landu was struggling in her personal life, which could have influenced her conduct and contributed to her behavior. Landu agreed to repay the money that she took and formally apologize for her actions. And why, Dr. Landu, would you run a scam like this? It's weird. You're a doctor, so you put in a lot of work towards your very expensive education, and you risked it all. You were set to make good money, but instead, you scammed and worked while you were scamming. It's not even like you were making that much money to make the risk worth it. And you did it during the pandemic when you were needed the most. Paging Dr. Moron to the unemployment line. Number 2. Technology wins. When thieves stole Jay Robinson's 2 cars from his driveway, he used Google Earth to track them down. Robinson went to bed on a Thursday night with his Volkswagen Golf and Seat Attica in his driveway and awoke the following day to find they were gone. Burglars had crept into his home during the night and snatched the keys while he was sleeping. The burglars later advertised the seat for sale on Snapchat. A friend told Robinson about the scam, so he decided to reach out to them personally. Robinson asked the burglars to return the vehicles, but they said they would would only give it back if he paid them $2,500. The thieves sent him a blurry picture of the vehicle's front seat to prove they still had both cars. They thought the picture would convince Robinson to pay the ransom. Instead, it helped him locate the stolen vehicles. Robinson smartly used Google Earth to pinpoint the car's location, which was in a neighborhood 6 miles from his home. Given the way technology is these days, it was pretty clever of him to convince the thieves to send a picture. Robinson arrived at the location and found his car sitting there. He used his keys to unlock the vehicle, but instead of driving away, he reported it to the police. Although law enforcement quickly responded, they insisted on taking the vehicle in for forensic examination rather than immediately giving it back to Robinson. He was devastated and posted the details of the theft on social media, as well as his disappointment in the way the police handled the case. Since they failed to find his other vehicle, the Volkswagen Golf, Robinson was left without a vehicle. He said that if he hadn't reported the burglary to the police, he could have driven away with his car that day. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to check out our past release to find out how this cop decided to do this dumb crime. Number 1. Check this out. Armed robber Andrew Hennels threatened grocery store employees after bragging on Facebook that he was going to rob the store. Because genius! Hennels went into Tesco, a grocery store chain in the UK, less than 15 minutes after he made the Facebook post. He brandished a knife and demanded that the cashiers empty their registers. Law enforcement received an emergency call from the supermarket chain and rushed to the scene while Hennels stole a car from a retired couple who had stopped to use the ATM near the store. Officers recovered a knife at the scene and quickly located their suspect at a nearby pub with roughly $500 of stolen money in his pocket. The police arrested Hennels and took him into custody, where a judge requested up-to-date information on Hennels' mental state before proceeding to understand the reason behind his actions. Authorities found that earlier on the day of the robbery, Hennels shared a picture of the knife he used. During his trial, the prosecution discussed the trauma that the supermarket employees experienced and the number of officers who rushed to the scene after receiving the emergency call. While the court struggled to decipher Hennels' motive, his Facebook activity helped to confirm that he was guilty of the armed robbery. The judge deemed Hennels to be a high risk to society and sentenced him to 4 years in prison. So Hennels, of sound body and mind, got himself 4 years in the clink for less than $1,000 because he bragged about his crime before he committed it? With that kind of brain power, we suspect he was going to end up there eventually. Here are a few shoplifters who aren't very good at what they do. Number 10. The business card. Matthew Crowder ran a Facebook page where he posted pictures from what he called raids. These raids were Crowder speak for shoplifting. In his posts, he bragged about pampering his family with the spoils of his conquests. Crowder made it sound like he was slaying dragons for these items when in reality, he was committing petty theft. In 2016, Crowder's poor decision-making came full circle. He walked into another consignment store looking to raid valuable loot. This time, the only treasure that caught his eye was standing behind the counter. The petty thief flirted with the cute cashier. After a moment of conversation, he gave the clerk his business card. Crowder then went back to business as usual and finished his raid. Once the store realized what had happened, they called the police. Thankfully, Crowder did all the work for them. This business-minded burglar left behind a card with his name and address on it. On top of that, he immediately took to Facebook to brag about what he shoplifted. Unfortunately for him, his biggest fans that day were police officers. Officer Dobrik of the Albuquerque Police said it wasn't a surprise because the guys who commit these crimes are usually dumb. He also said to all businesses in the area that if Crowder walks into their store, he's only there to rip them off. Crowder had outstanding warrants for shoplifting in 3 other Albuquerque counties. Number 9. The Magnet Thief. Would-be magnet thief Nicholas Allegretto basically turned himself in when he waltzed into a Cambridge police station to complain about a store owner. Allegretto told police that his image had been used to defame him and cause his family turmoil. His boss saw the picture and fired him on the spot. When the authorities investigated the situation further, Allegretto was promptly arrested. Turns out, he walked into a hardware store and after pretending to shop for a bit, decided to pocket a valuable magnet. He was stopped as he headed towards the exit and workers took the magnet back. Allegretto, though, got away. Angry about the shoplifter, the owner made a wanted poster with Allegretto's face on it and put it up in his store. He also posted it to Facebook and the local papers, which was how Allegretto's friends and family recognized him. Feeling like he had been wronged, the magnet-loving crook thought it would be wise to tell the police. After his arrest, Allegretto was hit with over $1,000 in fines. The shopkeeper couldn't believe Allegretto walked into a police station. He told reporters that Allegretto wasn't the sharpest tool in the box. Number 8. Grandma had enough. In Campbell River, Canada, the local Walmart has a high volume of calls to the authorities. They seem to be a popular target for shoplifters who are willing to do anything to take what they want. One day, somebody's grandma decided she'd had enough. The whole incident was recorded by a man following the criminal. The video starts with the shoplifter ahead of him trying to take his unbagged goods out of the store. When the would-be criminal grabbed his bike, the man with the phone asked him if he was going to pay for his stuff. The shoplifter responded with a "yeah" while he continued towards the door. However, little did he know, a lone vigilante was already on top of him. Like a giant G appeared in the sky, Grandma pushed her cart in front of the thief and scolded him. Before he could react, Granny grabbed his mask and tore it off. Even with his face exposed, he still tried to take the cart. However, seemingly emboldened by Grandma's bravery, the cameraman grabbed the criminal's cart. After a brief struggle, he let go of the carriage and opted for his backpack instead. The thief rode off empty-handed with nothing but shame after Grandma thwarted his pathetic robbery attempt. Number 7. The Purse. In Hillsboro, Oregon, Sarah Michelle Jarvis struggled with a man over her purse. She yanked on it desperately, trying to pull it from his grasp. However, the man's strength was too much for Sarah, and she was clearly fighting a losing battle. It sounds like the opening scene to a Marvel movie, but not everything is always as it seems. In a now viral YouTube video, the altercation kicks off with Sarah and a seemingly random man struggling over a purse at Rite Aid. Sarah had stashed some product in her bag, and a loss and prevention employee caught her red-handed. He chased her into the parking lot and then dragged her back into the store by her purse straps. The situation escalated when Sarah started kicking and punching him. That wasn't a good idea, and he took her to the ground. She flopped and kicked around for a bit before jumping back to her feet and releasing the purse. She tried to leave, but walked right into a waiting officer's arms. The first question that comes to mind is, why didn't she just let the purse go and run? The man was clearly much stronger, and she had no chance of leaving with the bag. While we can only speculate, the reason seems obvious if you listen closely to the beginning of their struggle. Sarah told the loss prevention officer that he shouldn't take people's purses or their Percocets. The want for her drugs could explain why she fought so hard for the bag and her erratic behavior. Even with the video evidence, the charges were dropped and she walked away scot-free. Number 6. TV for nowhere. John Ray Lomack is a name steeped in infamy at a Target in downtown Seattle. The homeless man was marked as a prolific shoplifter. He gained this title by hitting the same store over 20 times and getting away with around $6,000 worth of products. In the previous incidents, he even hurt some employees while escaping with his ill-gotten gains. This prompted Target to ban him from the store and instructed employees to call the police if he showed his face. This didn't stop this confident criminal as he walked in again with a mask covering his face. He was still recognized though, and the cops were called as he was obviously scoping out a 70-inch TV. Lomack headed straight for the exit with the oversized TV on his cart, but security met him at the door. They didn't fight with him, but they did grab the TV and stopped him from pulling it outside. What ensued was a struggle straight out of a late-night comedy sketch. Lomack pulled the TV from different angles while the employees steadily pulled it back. He eventually made it outside and after a short rest, dragged his prize down the street. Lomack's victory was short-lived as the employees found 2 cops and pointed them in his direction. When confronted by the officers, the homeless man put up a struggle but was apprehended and taken to jail. Despite an overwhelming record of 18 felony convictions, the judge released Lomack with no consequences. Number 5. Marshall's robber. In an arrest that looked more like a WWE match, Franklin Nunez fought off 2 officers as he desperately tried to escape from the marshals he chose to rob. The officers arrived on the scene to confront Nunez after employees called 911. Before a recent policy change, employees had to wait 30 minutes after witnessing a shoplifting attempt to call 911. You could argue that policy was in place to avoid in-store confrontation. After all, security cameras probably caught them in the act anyway. Nonetheless, the policy got a facelift and employees could call 911 on a shoplifting attempt in progress. Some of the patrons recorded Nunez's handicap match touch with police and posted it to many social media sites. In the video, you can see Nunez stiff-arm one officer while fending off another. They eventually bring him down, where the struggle continues. Some sources report that Nunez appeared to be going for the officer's weapon in the video, although there's no confirmation. Nunez rises up like the Undertaker and shakes off both officers as he runs out the door. This seemingly superhuman shoplifter was only caught after 10 more officers showed up. Number 4. New York shoplifting king. Isaac Rodriguez found out how heavy the proverbial crown is after becoming the shoplifting king of New York. Like a reverse Robin Hood, surrounded by concrete and only taking for himself, Rodriguez went on a roll during his spree. He broke New York's record for most retail theft arrests with a whopping 46 and was arrested 57 times total in 2021. Those arrests included several other charges, including some violent ones. However, Rodriguez kept getting thrown back on the street. The police commissioner blamed new bail reform laws for the spike in crime. The items the klepto king chose to steal were the weirdest part. He lifted random things like soap, baby formula, and lingerie. Rodriguez often came to the same store several times in one day. Walgreens alone felt the wrath of the king 37 times in 1 year. How he carried out his crimes was pretty interesting. Rodriguez had no elaborate plan or scheme to fall back on. Instead, he just walked into a store and began filling a bag up. When it was full, the king of thieves walked on out like he owned the place. The king finally landed in jail when a judge set his bail at $15,000. Good luck stealing and reselling enough body lotion to pay that off. Number 3. Grand Theft Gucci. Ekaterina Zarkova, California resident, loved luxury so much that she was arrested twice for stealing a ridiculous amount of designer goods. Zarkova's scheme was relatively simple. She walked into a TJ Maxx or Nordstrom in Orange County. Zarkova whipped out empty shopping bags and filled them up when no one was looking. She kept this up for over a month without any real resistance and made off with thousands worth of designer products. She might have kept going unchecked if the investigator that witnessed her crimes wasn't in the right place at the right time. Zarkova wasn't just stealing the products to feel like an heiress with a large inheritance. Her plans were more entrepreneurial in nature. She took all her stolen items and tried to sell them on an online consignment store. If she hadn't been caught, she could have made a lot of money doing so. Zarkova stole over $300,000 worth of designer products from TJ Maxx and Nordstrom in the short month she was operating. Her spree was ended by an investigator who caught her red-handed and arrested her. Apparently, this wasn't Zarkova's first dance with the law. She had been arrested in March for a similar crime. In that instance, she was caught with over $950 in products and a tool to remove tags from items. She was released on a $20,000 bail and ordered to appear in court for her arraignment. When Zarkova didn't show for her first court date, a judge issued a warrant for her arrest. The authorities also got a warrant for her car and apartment where they found her secret stash of products. This prompted another arrest and a much steeper bail set at $320,000. Zarkova was charged with 4 felony counts of grand theft, 7 misdemeanor counts of petty theft, and 1 felony count of receiving stolen property. If convicted on all charges, she could get 9 years in prison. The Orange County District Attorney, Todd Spitzer, seemed fired up by the situation and put out a stern warning to any would-be criminals. He expressed that these crimes were not victimless. If anyone commits these acts under his watch, they will be arrested and prosecuted. Number 2. Integrity Control Officer. NYPD Sergeant Eva Pena must have thought she was above the law. On an average September night in 2019, Pena strolled into a Macy's department store and decided the brand name clothing she wanted was too expensive to pay for. Instead of putting it back on the rack, CCTV footage captured her removing the price tags and stuffing the clothing in her purse. Her haul? 6 different items from Guess and Tommy Hilfiger, totaling $360. Here's the kicker. As a sergeant in the NYPD, Pena made just over $100,000 per year overseeing the Bronx Housing Authority. According to the New York Post, her role involved Integrity Control Officer, and she'd recommend punishments for those beneath her who committed small infractions. She also posed for pictures with Commissioner James O'Neill at a recent police event. Did she really think she was above the law, or did she have some kind of leverage on O'Neill? Leverage enough to warrant petty theft she clearly could have afforded? Loss prevention officers at Macy's caught Pena red-handed on CCTV. They detained her in a security office and called the police. About an hour later, Pena was suspended from her role with the NYPD. The following Friday, Pena drove herself to court in a white Mercedes-Benz with a $1,000 Louis Vuitton in hand. Perhaps flaunting her wealth could actually help her case? If people see how well off she is, maybe they'd question why she'd shoplift in the first place. Either way, she walked into the courtroom with a wide smile, stood by her lawyer's side, and pleaded not guilty. Number 1. San Fran shoplifting queen. In just 13 months, Aziza Graves was arrested and charged after shoplifting from Target 120 times, making off with over $40,000 worth of products during her crime spree. She used the self-checkout lane, paid between 1 cent and $1, then left before the sale was completed. Police finally caught up to her in November of 2021, but a judge released her on bail. The judge requested she wear an ankle bracelet, but the shoplifting queen of San Francisco had other ideas. She never wore the ankle bracelet and went right back to stealing. Thankfully, she didn't get far. Police caught her in the act a month later. This time, they insisted that Aziza be held without bail. Clearly, she has no intentions of being an upstanding citizen. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comment section what you'd rather do. Give up watching all sports for 1 year or take $10K in cash.